This is the general information session for the Human Services Funding Collaborative. This alliance coordinates human services funding between 16 North, East, and South King County municipalities. The participating cities include Auburn, Bellevue, Burien, Covington, Des Moines, Federal Way, Issaquah, Kenmore, Kent, Kirkland, Redmond, Renton, Sammamish, SeaTac, Shoreline, and Tukwila, Washington. Today, we're going to introduce the funding process for the 2027-28 funding cycle and the request for proposals, which will open in March of 2026. What we fund and what we don't, minimum requirements to receive city funding, the application process and contents, data collection and reporting, timelines, and staff contacts for each city. And what we don't. Human services funding falls into 6 general categories. Basic needs, including food, other needs like hygiene supplies, diapers, and clothes for school, community support and advocacy, things like legal assistance, resource and referral and family support programs, employment and education, workforce development, education programs, and including technical assistance programs, housing and homelessness, things like emergency shelter, temporary, permanent, or permanent supportive housing, financial assistance like rental or utility assistance, and eviction prevention. Safe and healthy communities, which includes behavioral health programs, crisis services, medical and dental care, and violence prevention and domestic violence services. Success at every age, childcare, early learning, and other programs focusing on youth, seniors, or those living with disabilities. Fund. Early religious activities, political activities, and one-time events. Faith-based organizations can receive city grants if the money isn't used to fund religious worship, instruction, or proselytization. Political activities are generally prohibited for 501c3s, although you can engage in some advocacy, lobbying, and educational activities. In general, cities don't fund one-time events, but may, on a case-by-case basis, talk to staff. Requirements to receive city funding. If you go to www.shareoneapp.org/apply/application, on the right side, under Information, you'll see a link for minimum requirements. So what are these requirements? First, you must be a 501c3 nonprofit organization or have a nonprofit fiscal sponsor. This may be different for the City of Bellevue, so if you have any questions, talk to them. If you are awarded funding, you should have a business license for every city in which you provide services. These licenses are free for nonprofits, but you do have to renew them every year. Insurance amounts vary city by city, so we have a handy chart that you can reference. You need to have a financial review annually, and depending on your revenues, the type will differ. If your revenues are over $3 million over 3 years, you need an independent, third-party audit every year. If your revenues are over $1 million and up to $3 million over 3 years, you need to have a 990 tax return or audited financial statements prepared by an independent, certified public accountant. If your revenues are $1 million or less over 3 years, you'll need to have a statement that your revenues are under $1 million and the name and address of the entity that prepares, reviews, or audits your organization's financial statements. You should have a robust internal control policy to ensure that you minimize risk for fraud and fiscal abuse. And a non-discrimination policy, which some cities require at the time of application, but all cities do require once awarded funding. Whistleblower, conflict of interest, and records retention policies are all required of all funded agencies. And lastly, you have to have an audit committee, which is required by the Federal Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002. Most cities pay on a quarterly reimbursement model. That means that you provide services for 3 months, then request reimbursement for the services already provided. If this is an issue, talk to your city staff. You must be able to track and submit all your reports online at shareoneapp.org. So if you're not comfortable with working online, find someone on your board or volunteer who can help. You must follow generally accepted accounting principles. And some cities may require meetings with staff prior to the application. Check the city-specific information sheets, which will be posted closer to the opening of the request for proposals. In any case, if you're new to city funding, we strongly recommend that you contact city staff as soon as possible to talk about your program and any priorities the city may have. In these specific information sheets, you'll find supplemental information for each individual city, the approximate amount of funding available, whom to contact for assistance, their specific timeline for reviewing and awarding of funds, and who's reviewing applications, and any focus or priority areas. If you need help with or have questions about any of the required policies, these are some good resources. The National Council of Nonprofits, BoardSource, Blue Avocado, and the Nonprofit Association of Washington. And local resources like the North Urban Human Services Alliance, the Alliance of Eastside Agencies, Community Rise, and 501 Commons. Take a brief look at the actual application. You can find a list of the questions from the 2025-26 application for reference on the website at www.shareoneapp.org/application. The questions probably won't change a lot, so if you can get started thinking about how you respond now, you'll be ahead of the game. Program description section, you'll be asked to clearly and concisely explain the issue you're addressing. Many reviewers may be new and not have a deep understanding of the needs in their community. You'll talk specifically about what you'll do in your program, explain who are the people that you're focusing your services on and how they will know about your program, and what the program outcome is. What difference will it make in people's lives? Also want to know how accessible are your services in terms of geographical, physical, linguistic, as well as cultural accessibility. Are you located where your clients are? Can they get to you by public transportation? Are your offices ADA accessible? Do you have bilingual and bicultural staff to better serve a diverse population? You'll need to upload your agency budget to your agency profile in the system. You can start doing that now by creating an agency profile on shareoneapp.org. For the application, each different program within your organization that you're applying for funding for must submit a program budget as part of the narrative, showing what you're asking from each city you're applying to, other sources of funding, and how those funds will be spent. You'll need to talk about the outcome of the service you provide. What percentage of the people in your program will experience what specific change in their lives? We offer 100 ESL classes each year to 500 students. Sounds good, but this is not an outcome. But if you say 85% of students in our ESL classes will improve by at least one level at the end of each 10-week session, that's an outcome. Also not an outcome, we'll provide 1,000 meals to local families each year. That's a great statistic, but not an outcome. We want to know what change that you're helping to achieve. An outcome might be something like 90% of the families we serve will report decreased levels of food insecurity as measured by a pre and post test. There'll be more training on outcomes at the funders workshops on March 3rd and 4th, but we really encourage you to meet with city staff now and talk to them about what a good outcome for your program might be. There are also links to video tutorials on outcomes and other parts of the application on the ShareOne app application page. There's data. Why do we require you to report program data? Why can't we just give you the money and trust that you're doing what you say you're going to do and that you're doing a good job? Unlike philanthropy, where funding can be more like individual donors who write a check because they believe in your mission, government funding comes with lots of strings. We've tried to minimize these strings, but at the end of the day, local governments have to be accountable to their taxpayers. We have to be able to show that the money we invest in our community partners is well spent and is making an impact. In the application, you'll need to say how many residents in each city you've served in 2025 and how many you expect to serve in 2027 should you be awarded funding. If you don't know how many people you're currently serving, start tracking now. Cities are more likely to fund new programs if they at least know that in the last quarter of 2025, you've served 500 of their residents versus having no data at all. But if you're a brand new program and you don't have any data because you haven't been serving any city residents, that shouldn't stop you from applying. But do talk to your city staff now. So for example, in the application, you might report that you provided a total of 450 hours of counseling in 2025. And with additional funding, you propose to provide 500 hours of counseling in 2027, 100 to Bellevue residents, 100 to Renton residents, 50 to Auburn residents, etc. Each quarter, you will fill out and submit an online form reporting on how much service you provided based on your individual city contracts, the number of city residents served, and also use the same form to request payment reimbursement. You'll need to submit reports on how many unduplicated households and individuals you served over the past year. Unduplicated means you only count them once each year. If a person comes for service in January, but then comes back in July and maybe November, you would only count them once, not 3 times. We'll ask for income levels for all people you serve. You don't report on specific individuals, but just the total number of people at each income level. Age, gender, race, and ethnicity also get reported at the end of the year. And lastly, the outcomes you've been tracking all year get reported at the end of the year as well. Remember, as soon as you start providing services, you need to be collecting all these data so you can report for the full 12 months at the end of the year. Timeline. The request for proposals will open on Monday, March 2nd, 2026. Applications will be due by Monday, April 6th at 4 p.m. We cannot stress this enough. Do not wait until the last minute to submit your application. If something is going to go wrong, this is the time it will go wrong. The electricity may go out, your internet provider may go down. Your child may have an emergency at school, and you have to drop everything to go take care of it. Aim to submit by the Friday before, and that way you'll have a little wiggle room if you need it. And if not, you can enjoy your weekend. Once applications are submitted, they're reviewed by each individual city through the summer. Many cities have volunteer human services commissions who review the applications and make funding recommendations. Other cities have a different process. It should all be explained on each city's city-specific information sheet. In December, all awardees will be notified and given permission to proceed as of January 1st, 2027, even though the contract may not be finalized until after that date. To contact you if you have questions. In the north, Tamby Cork for Kenmore and SUNY Tolton for Shoreline. Side, Christy Stanglin for Bellevue, Hannah Roberts for Issaquah, Antoinette Smith for Kirkland, Alaric Bien for Redmond, and Rita Bod for Sammamish. And in South County, Kent Hay for Auburn, Anya Zupancic for Burien, Julie Johnson for Covington, Alexandra Reyes for Des Moines, Layla Wilson for Federal Way, or for Kent, Lori Fleming for Renton, Aaron Bryant Thomas for SeaTac, and Stacy Hansen for Tequila.